So hi and welcome everybody to our first virtual Mental Health Awareness Week at More Yoga, and I have the pleasure to be joined today by an amazing lady, a scientist, a cook, a farmer, a botanical explorer, the head of Duchess Grains and co-founder of the Sustainable Food Story, Abi Aspen Glencross. Hi Aspen, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Are you on the farm at the moment? It looks like you might be.
Yeah, I'm actually in the polytunnel, which the guys have been looking after. It's all of the plants. It's very, very lovely. Very, very. Yeah, you can hear a tractor in the background as well. Yeah, proper farm today.
A good place to be in at the moment.
Very lovely.
So our theme this week at More Yoga is cultivating more kindness, and the theme for Mental Health Awareness Week this year is kindness. So Aspen, what does kindness mean to you, and how do you kind of practice it through your work, your amazing kind of portfolio of work, and in your daily life as well?
Yeah, so I think that kindness is interesting because I suppose in my work I concentrate quite a lot on the land and the environment and sort of ecology and soil and things like that. But I've realised that those like fundamental things lead on to happiness in, you know, sharing with each other and caring for what we eat. And there's so many like facets of it that are more than just the environment. Because I suppose we work quite a lot in sustainability, and I think sustainability and kindness kind of go hand in hand, because usually you work in something that's looking at sustainability if you want to do something nice or better than the norm. So I suppose the two sides of, yeah, working and looking after the land and sharing through cooking and food. And then also, I suppose, about a year and a half ago, I got an ear infection, and I used to be this kind of superwoman that did all of the things all the time and would go to a festival and then go running and then beat myself up because I hadn't, you know, done enough work. And that made me slow down, but also be more empathetic and kind to myself and other people. So I think
definitely
slowing down, and COVID's been interesting because just like slowing down, taking time to like cook and grow things and reflect a bit on how you feel and what you really want and how you work with other people. And yeah, I think it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Thank you. And so how would you kind of describe, or how would you advise our listeners and people joining us today on how to make more sustainable, kind of kinder choices in everyday life towards the planet?
Yeah, so we look at sustainability with the Sustainable Food Story and on the farm at Duchess through quite a few facets. So there's sustainability in the environment, so what we put in the land, what we take out of it, how we balance it, but then also sort of cultural, what people like to eat and like to grow, and what we, you know, like to farm and what's in our sort of heritage. And then also we look at community, so sharing of trades and skills and cake in COVID, I think a lot. and then also economics, so economic sustainability, and are we being paid well for what we do? Are we paying people properly? You know, that sort of can you make a living and that sort of stuff. So it's kind of multifaceted. And Sustainable Food Story, we concentrate a lot on sourcing or growing a lot of our own produce and sort of disseminating it in events and dinners. And yeah, so it's a lot of like putting our love into food and then feeding that to people. And we tell a lot of the stories of sustainability. So not always saying that, this is the one way, this is sustainable. More like, this is what we've learned, and we're trying to pass that on to people so they can make more informed choices, because it's really hard. It's really hard to make good choices.
Definitely, and I think a lot of people, I know a lot of the people in our community want to make the right choices, but it might just be that they don't know how, or there's not that much that educates us, I think, on kind of how we can make those choices, especially when you're leading a busy kind of London lifestyle, and you need to grab things quickly, or don't actually have access to a farm directly. Kind of how people can make more informed decisions.
Yeah, sure. So we kind of the Sustainable Food Story takes a lot of what Duchess Grains does in terms of heritage varieties of wheat, but I'll speak a bit about that. But that comes more into eating the most plants we can. So we do a lot of plant-based. We're not vegan, we're not vegetarian, but we use a lot of plants. So that's kind of like one big tick of how do I live better or make better buying choices? Plants, so beans, pulses, grains, veg, fruit, you know, that's one great tick of like we're doing that. And
Yeah.
then next thing we go on to is like, where do those veg or where do the products I buy come from? So trying to know your farmer, even if it's, you know, especially if we have a bit more time, like emailing where you buy something from, if it's not, hopefully not a supermarket, that's the one thing we try and buy from, like independent places. And if they know the farmers, then that's amazing, because quite often, you know, even if they're not 100% organic, they will have thought about their supply network, which is another quite big tick. And then we're like, if not, you know, some of us, I bought some onions from a supermarket last night because I forgot to buy onions. And so we try and buy then organic or biodynamic. It's kind of, at least it's some certification on people are thinking about the soil and thinking about the environment when they farm and when they
impact that they're
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's been slated that, you know, organic won't feed the world, oh it will, and all this sort of stuff. But I think just on a personal level, without thinking about the whole world all the time, it's just something that makes us know that where we're buying from has thought a bit about how it's grown, sort of thing. Instead of just, you see a lot of large scale agriculture that's really terrible. So it's like, at least it's something. And then we know that we buy products. So it's like knowing that treats and stuff are great, but you know, there was a lot on like avocados and dates and all these sort of health foods, and all of them are okay, again following those sort of rules, but it's just like a treat. Like, you know, not all of your diet should be based on, you know, date balls or something, but as a treat, maybe it's a cool alternative to sugar. But you know, sugar's not inherently bad in itself, sort of thing. So it's kind of, it's all those things. It's like mainly plants, mainly grains, mainly pulses, but those little treats are not like the worst thing in the world, sort of thing. And that kind of
balance, isn't it? Having a more balanced and more conscious approach to things.
I think so, yeah. And it's like not like it, because we are all, what's the word, should take care of what we consume and what we eat and what we buy and stuff like that, but it's not all on us. You know, it's such a big system of government and policy and economics and big business and advertising that we just can't get away from. So it's like, don't take the whole weight of the world on yourself, but you can just make some, you know. And when we buy meat, we try and use like offal or more of a flavoring, like buy something that you have like a small amount on pizza or something, you know, like not huge like lumps of meat, sort of thing. More of like a garnish. There's a really amazing book called The Third Plate by Dan Barber, and he described, it's so cool. It's like, and I went and worked at their farm restaurant in New York, and it basically says that the first plate was like meat and two veg, and then it was meat and two veg but sort of local and seasonal, and then it's just actually veg and meat is just a garnish, or, you know, a tiny part of the intense flavour of that dish. So those are quite cool rules to follow as well. And then we do one more when we do supper clubs, is that we try and get as much, like, it eats seasonally. If you buy local from people that are growing, eating seasonally is easier, and then you get diversity in your diet. But we try and buy as much as we can from the UK, and then a bit more from Europe, so a bit less from Europe that is in season, so like blood oranges are in or something like that, and then a bit less from farther away, which is like some chocolate or some spices or something that's not air freighted, so not try not to buy too much like fruit that's perishable, because that is sometimes air freighted, and just stuff like that. So hopefully that helps.
Brilliant. No, that's so helpful. Really, really helpful. And we will pop a link to the book that you mentioned after the interview as well, just so people can get access to that if they like. So one of the reasons that they chose kindness for the theme of Mental Health Awareness Week this year is because they wanted to begin to open up the conversation about how we can live more kindly. And from your work and from your experience and everything you're doing, how would you kind of say that choosing a more sustainable lifestyle could lead us to, I suppose, a brighter future after the pandemic, or I suppose actually at the moment as well, kind of by the choices that we're making every day?
I think the interesting thing is, when we've had more time, a lot of us have had more time, we cook more. A lot of people have tried growing. Everyone's a baker now, like, and that's everyone's done sourdough. It's great, and so those things, even we do a lot of sharing. Like, we will deliver some stuff from our farm to friends, and then they'll swap some cake. And there's been a lot of like lovely trading and like cooking, and you realise that when you go back to the fundamental things of what we have to do to survive, so like food and shelter and warmth, it's kind of, it strips it back a bit, and you realise that without all the fancy things that we can buy or like go out clubbing or whatever it is. It's like, oh, what I really enjoy is cooking for me in my house, or is growing something and then giving some plants to a friend down the road. And I think that because you have time to think about what you actually enjoy, and I think if it's a lot of material stuff, we realize, oh crap, now I can't afford it, or I don't have that, or I can't get access to it. So it is kind of like really stripping back everything that I think we want, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Those kind of big, complicated things. Where I think actually one of the really wonderful things that's emerged out of the pandemic is bringing people together in different ways, and kind of actually getting back to, as you were saying, those kind of simpler things in life, the basics of cooking together, of sharing food, of kind of thinking about other people, and kind of making things last a bit more as well.
And like trades, it's really interesting. Like you find that friend who knows how to sew, or has that sewing kit that you've got a patch in your trousers now. And I think that a lot of my friends, I feel we live in a bit of a bubble of this sort of thing anyway, because it's kind of what we do in our jobs and our life. But I think other people are like really getting into it, and crafts. And you know, my boyfriend makes dough scrapers that you use from wood, and just crazy things. It's like, oh wow, we have these incredible skills that haven't really been like people thought are worthwhile for quite a long time.
100%.
And I think people are really coming around to the fact that working in a supermarket or being a farmer or all these things, that kind of sometimes looked down a little bit upon, and now like, oh wow, they're sort of really vital for the economy. And you know, we have volunteers in the farm, and it's been really lovely, like sharing a lot of stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that idea of, instead of like throwing something away, we can fix it, and kind of using skills that we might not have thought of as being really important. Actually, those are the things that have come into play and been kind of a salvation at the moment for a lot of us. So
for mental and physical health, I think it's
definitely mindfulness as well, I think. So brilliant. And so Aspen, what would you kind of say would be your 3 top takeaway points for anyone listening who wanted to start living more sustainably and kind of being kinder to the planet?
I think that cooking, so like I know we're super busy, but when you work out, there's a few simple recipes that are like really really easy, like 10 minutes. I'm a lazy cook. It's really funny. I work as a chef when there's not a pandemic, and I'm lazy when I get home, but you realize that you have those little set few recipes that you can do. So I think that cooking's one. And baking probably tied in with that, because it's just like super lovely to bake and share with people. I think grow something of your own. Like there's I get a lot of questions about how, and I'm happy to like put some like little guidelines of growing together, which that
would be amazing. I think something we've all realized is that we're so reliant on kind of supermarkets or local shops to provide us with food and the things we need. Whereas I know when I've had a balcony at my last place, then for the whole time I was there, I was like, I'm going to grow this, I'm going to grow that, and I never got round to it. And actually we realized it's a really important thing to put time into.
And it seems really daunting, but it's actually like it depending on the plants you choose. And again, I can write them down, like things like kale and stuff are pretty robust. You can grow kale and it keeps coming back, and even you can get a garlic bulb and plant a garlic bulb and it will grow, and you just take off the green from it and you just get garlicky flavor in your dish. And just really simple growing stuff, not we're not asking you to grow crazy vine tomatoes and put up trellises and stuff. I think that's the other one. And then I think the final one might be like the tying in, eating as many plants as you can, many different plants, but also just trying to find out a bit about the farmer, because if you can find out about the farmer, then usually that means it's a reasonably short supply network, because the further away we get, the less money the producer gets for what you're buying. So actually, if you shorten those, you're not particularly going to have to pay anymore, but it's just going more direct to the producer.
And I suppose supporting smaller businesses as well, or local businesses in that way as well, rather than kind of those big supply chains.
And again, I can I'll send you a list to share of like some really amazing companies doing like really really amazing stuff, and all sorts, from veg and like I said, beans and flour and grains, to sort of chocolate and peanut butter, and just really trying to work within those supply systems way better than a lot of maybe conventional places.
Yeah. Oh, that would be brilliant. That would be really, really helpful. So we will share that with our community as well. Thank you so much for that offer. And really, really helpful takeaway points for everyone who wants to kind of help be kinder to the planet, be kinder to yourselves as well in that way, and kind of spread more kindness through our choices every day. Aspen, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Cool, and thank you so much for everyone who's joined us today, who's listening. Aspen, could you let us know your Instagram handle or how people can kind of follow you or connect with you?
Yeah, sure. I didn't even think about that, considering we're on the internet so much. So we're at the Sustainable Food Story, and that's Sive, my partner in crime, and I, and she's training like nutrition for global health cook, and I'm sort of like a farmer scientist, and we do some great we do some great growing tips and cooking tips and stuff like that, and we can always available to message. And then we are at Duchess Farms, which is we grow heritage varieties of wheat and we make flour from them, and we help this farm and other farms in the area convert to organic practices using this wheat and offer them a good market to sell to. So hopefully a nice network.
Amazing. Oh, that sounds brilliant. We will look forward to knowing more in the future as well. But thank you so much for joining us today, Aspen, and for being part of Mental Health Awareness Week.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.